everything like that. Yeah.
Okay, so just give us 30 seconds. So Dave, just jump out of that game and jump into it. But the next one's going to be that's fine. Yeah. We'll catch up. So Zest and Solar. And Solar.
Yeah. So this one on Dreamcatcher. So here we're going to see Zest opening, doing kind of a normal Stargate opening from the beginning, but then going pretty heavy into it. So you guys can probably already see the build order there, that it has the word Phoenix in it a lot. So obviously you're going to get a pretty heavy Phoenix opening here. And it makes some sense on this map in particular, I think, to do this, particularly since there's kind of those goal bases. There's bases that are fairly far apart. It can be reasonably hard for the Zerg to defend well against this and so on. So I think it's kind of a neat way to do this. Our producer, Tara, pointed out that this is originally a Neeb build, or at least something quite similar to this. Yeah. Zest used it later on in the GSL, and so it's often attributed to Zest, but I think it was Neeb
during the is it Hanzhou Carnival?
That one. Yeah. And of course, Neeb not too shy of going mass Stargate openings with the Oracles, but now of course Phoenix potentially more viable here.
I thought mass Stargate would have fallen out of favor, out of style, but it feels like they still have a huge place in this meta.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. People did it a little less, or are doing it a little less because they don't have to do it. But it doesn't mean it's not good to do.
Yeah, right.
That got switched. So it's not forced anymore. But almost having it not forced makes it stronger, because now your opponent's not guaranteed that you're going to do it. So it's actually a variable now, whereas it wasn't before. So they won't necessarily open in a way that stops it. The Adept coming out and they'll be able to take down this second lane.
I hope you guys get to notice as well on the stream that we now have build orders. And just sort of pointed it out, but just in case for some reason you don't notice the slew of numbers to the right, we got the timing, and we have the approximate supply, or the supply of which things happen. So you look for this replay up on Spawning Tool later, so you can get the full breakdown and play with it on your own game.
Yeah, if you want to try this out yourself, for sure. The Overlord does come in here and gets picked off by the Phoenix. And so this is part of, and we've talked about this before, in how since you don't have to do the Stargate anymore, you're not essentially forced to. For a while there, it was so forced that the Zerg player wasn't even scouting with the Overlord because he knew you were making a Stargate.
Absolutely. So
and now it's not, and now it's not forced, so he has to actually go scout it, and he loses the Overlord.
He runs the risk of losing the Overlord, which is good for Protoss players, because that was what we were saying. You're right. That's exactly it. The Zergs were metaing themselves to the point where they didn't even scout. They're like, oh, obviously he's going.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he's doing. So now the risk is there.
We'll get in here. The Oracle, there's already a spore in place, of course. Oracle does escape with its life and 1 kill, but loses a bit of hull damage. The Phoenix is fine, just kind of taking a look at where there may be unprotected Overlords, although he didn't want to pursue that one too much. And the Adepts holding down the front. But now, we're getting the double Stargate, of course, here, and just full chrono on the Phoenix.
Now, for the double Stargate, is this all going to be just pumping out as many Phoenixes as possible to take down as many Overlords and then pick up Queens? Or is there a difference in the end game?
That is pretty much what you're going to do now. One, you're going to take anything free that you can get, whether it's Queens, Overlords. You're going to try and get worker kills once this gets up to a decent number. So even with the spores already in place, once you get like 8-10 Phoenix, they could just dive on a base, diversify what's taking the damage, and still get like 8 drone kills before even losing a Phoenix.
You know what I love the most about this build? It reminds me of the old Brood or Corsair build, where the whole point of it was to keep the Zerg supply blocked, control the air, and then eventually push as many Zealots as possible.
Yeah, here he's trying to find those angles. The Spore Crawler does have to move out to make sure that he can't just do that repeatedly. But
he's still picking off some drones though, so which is still pretty healthy for him.
The peripheral drones, which is very important here because Solar went for the pretty greedy 3 base on this. So if he doesn't keep that drone count down, then it's going to get crazy. Even with all these kills, Solar is at 64 workers.
That's what I was wondering. Like, is this investment going to pay off? Because he's not like, is he pulling off the amount of drones he needs to get? These overlords are very well protected. He's gonna try to like sneak a little bit here, but they're just gonna move the herd a little bit. Okay, this one's really good.
Getting a fair bit done here, and
here we go.
Not much he can do. And you'll notice one little maneuver. I don't know if he totally thought this through, but he was there on another angle that forced a Spore Crawler to move out, and then he exploited the space that he made.
I think that was an accident, to be honest.
I think it just happened. Like, I don't think he thought, oh, he'll move his thing to do this. But once it happened, I think he knew that the gap was there and went back in for it.
So I think he got chased into that corner and he was like, "Ooh, hold on."
Yeah, I think so. So now there is a bunch of Hydras out. And what Solar has done here, knowing that he was going to just take a lot of damage, he just didn't really make almost any early military units at all. He just kept replenishing workers and was like, okay, you're going to come in and kill 5, 7, 8 of them. If I just don't make anything and keep...
Well, he knows that this is not the killing blow. Like, Phoenixes aren't going to finish him off, right?
Exactly.
So
you can't attack you with this army, and I know that basically at home you have like 2 adepts, so whatever. And again, still getting damage done here, but he's able to keep the worker count high enough, and now the Hydras are going to stop them from just sitting over a base. Although still getting the clean there.
This feels, though, is that because he's Solar's in like a greedy build mode, this almost feels like the macro of his build is what's countering these Phoenixes, because the work they're getting done is just being, replenished incredibly quickly, because all he's getting out is these drones.
Right. And now I think, so this is the part that I think Solar is very, very clever on. So Zest is now saying, okay, I got the Phoenix suppression. I'm going to go into Charge Lot Archon, basically. Or a Charge Lot Storm or something. But it's going to be very Charge Lot heavy from this point out. He's getting charged, getting a lot more gateways and so on. And against the Hydra army and Ling army, this is just going to crush it. But Solar is going into Swarm Host, like 9 Swarm Hosts. And Zealots are not great at running into free units. And neither are the Phoenix any good against that. Like, they can't fight this.
It's such an interesting counter Storm House. I feel like I don't see that as a counter very often, or at all.
You can't do it very often, but you can. The reason I think you can do it against these Phoenix is, so if like a 30-year army supply is in Swarm House, and we're going to see the first attack kind of come through and already do some devastating damage against this base. But the threat against Swarm Hosts these days is they're not like the old ones, where the Swarm Host can just retreat, set up a new defensive line 10 feet backwards, and still be annoying. If you overwhelm the Zerg army and their Swarm Hosts have to retreat, they're going to die. They're not going to be able to stand and fight. Like, they either completely retreat all the way, or they just get overwhelmed. With the Phoenix, basically you're saying the third of my army that is a Swarm Host can't fight, and the third of your army that's the Phoenix, they can't really fight either. So I'm going to do this, and we're both safe, because you can't attack into this, and I can't really attack into you.
Right. I think it's interesting that the Swarm Host, because she's trying to flank them, because obviously they're very squishy, they're very soft and very squishy. He tries to flank them. but he can't get around. The swarm hosts are well maneuvered, well into the in the back of the range, and they provide the cover.
Yeah, exactly. They control this center, and now you've got the really, really expensive units of Zest, which we've cleared out most of the army. The Phoenix are trying to chase some of these down, but that's not going to work well as they run into a bunch of
Hydras
there with a really good gun cave. So they're still trying to get something done. But the thing that Zest has to now rebuild is the standard gateway units, because he can't afford to just have a bunch of Immortals and Archons facing a bunch of Hydras and
swarm hosts,
locusts, because that's just so inefficient to have like your really expensive stuff go against this locust army. So he's just going to try and get away from this.
And you know what? It really puts a lot of pressure on Zest to have to keep up with the production, and he's not allowing him to expand, which also really hurts him.
Yeah, for sure. So Zealot's trying to come in the back here, but he's just not able to get to the level of numbers he needs to do this. Like, his Zealot numbers need to be in the 20s and 30s, not 8, in order to push.
Now, I wonder what would have been the best response to the swarm hosts.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Colossus.
Well, that's in my mind Colossus, but I don't know how much Colossus are efficient in this trade. Like,
they're
he has the robo, so I feel like Colossus would have been
it's something to do. It's against the Hydraling Locust, basically, is what you're fighting with the Banelings there. You need some support since the Banelings are there, but I think Colossus maybe works. But it's the fact that he didn't discover it until a bit late too. So
until they were there on top of him.
Yeah, then you're like, well, okay, I need 3 Colossus now, and I wouldn't be able to do that. So, which
is odd because he had the revelation. Like, he had the revelation, on the Hydralings earlier. So it's either that Solar is really good at keeping that hidden, or I feel like with the Phoenixes, he should have had the opportunity to be able to get that kind of vision because he was on top of him. So I don't know how that information got missed.
He may have expected it to be Infestor.
Oh, okay.
To try and grab the Phoenix, and since that looks pretty similar, then that may be where he a
bunch of Zealots just getting evaporated.
He also may not have expected the numbers. Like, it was 9 that came out essentially at once, and then he continued on from there to like too many. Basically, I think there's 14. Yeah, 14 of them out on the map. So it's just a lot. Also, the way this map works, so we just saw where the locusts were deployed, and it's a really good spot.
I was going to say, one of my things, I think this map really helped.
Right here. That deployed right over this, like, cliff thing. Like, that's just absolutely perfect for these.
Yeah, Locusts put in a lot of work, which is odd. Like, I know that, and some people might be wondering, like, well, why are we displaying build orders that lose? One of the key things is that for the beginning part of it, Zest really held control early game, and that's what. Even though this situation was not ideal, because it fell apart later into the game, Zest still held a lot of control. And if you're using that build, I think as long as you see you can see the telltale signs of something like Locust, you can better adjust, because if you have your Phoenixes, you can be on top and you can get vision at the same time. You're doing sort of a 2-for-1 aggressive push, aggressive like attack, and going for keep an eye on for counters.
Yeah, basically, I think it was maybe a somewhat novel approach to what he did. So
the swarm hosts?
Yeah, the swarm hosts. So it may be the case that Zest has never encountered that response to it before, or at least not executed in that way. And I think the map makes a big difference. So had that been done on like 16-bit LE, that's not really a problem, just because the map works totally different. But on an open, flat map like that, where like your bases, like your two expansions are essentially in a big line, and you could just kind of move between one and the other, you can't really defend them.
And for anybody too, if you're using a build, that build or something similar, and you adapt that build, the idea of picking off random overlords or queens, stray queens can go very much well for you if you get those good breaks.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right, so our next game, parting